Morning, everyone. Welcome to the Labs for macOS session, led by Perry Driscoll. We'll start with his presentation, and then at the end, we'll have time for some Q&A. If you have not yet used the session Q&A section in the JNUC app, you may need to quit and relaunch it for it to work for you. But that's where we'll be routing our questions. So as things come up, please enter them in that Q&A app. If you're watching virtually, you can go ahead and enter your questions, and they'll show up there as well. You can upvote them if you have the same question. So please take a look at that and be ready for those questions at the end. And now I'll hand it off to Perry.
Cheers. Thank you. Well, good morning, everybody. I was really not expecting this kind of turnout, so if the nerves hit, just bear with me. This is.
You can do it!
Thank you. Thank you. So yeah, welcome to my JNUC 2023 presentation on Labs for macOS. It's me. I'm Perry Driscoll. I work for a UK company called Trams Econocom. I'm one of the senior technical consultants there. You can also catch me on GitHub under the username Pezadi84, where you'll find some of my other tools, scripts, along with today's session topic, which is the Labs solution. So, let's get cracking. Many of you here probably already know or have heard of Labs, so I probably won't get too into the granular details of it, but maybe quick show of hands, who here is using any kind of Labs solution at the moment? Okay, so a fair amount, that's cool. So yeah, Labs, it is local admin password solution, which has been around for years on other platforms and Mac, and basically allows you to manage local admin accounts across your state centrally with randomized passwords, which are randomly generated, and they're kept in a rotation cycle. So there's never two devices with the same password. So taking these features into account, I made the following points the foundation of my solution. They've got to be randomized passwords, no two devices with the same password, ability to reset cycle admin passwords, and centralized management of running this. So when I'm first looking into this, simple question I asked myself, is there a solution for Mac? So naturally, I've done what any good IT engineer does, and I Googled it. So yeah, as you can see, there's lots out there. Oh, there's one. We can keep going. So yeah, you get the gist of it. There are a lot of macOS Labs solutions. But what one should I use? So going through all these different solutions, all the different features, some were one-off payments, you paid for the product, others you subscribed to them, some of them you had a lot more features, and so it was all a bit overkill, but I wanted to focus on the free ones out there and what they offered. So some of the big community followings out there there's some big products. So kind of don't take this as a pitch just for mine being the best, because there are many out there, so it probably fits your estate a little bit better. But looking through all the different solutions, one thing bugged me. A lot of them saved the passwords in plain text somewhere. So whether it was a local text file that was hidden somewhere or an extension attribute in Jamf, you could just basically see the admin password in plain text. And I don't know what your dealings are like with security teams, but from the security teams I've dealt with, they do not like this one bit. So that was a big no for me, so I had to work around it and look at something else. So it got me thinking, what could I do? What method of management do I want to go down? So it hit me, config profiles, launch agents, keychain items, local scripts, policies, API calls, the list just went on. There's so many different ways to do this. And then I'm getting some ideas together, and before I ended up deciding what to do and what to go ahead with, Jamf threw a spanner in the works. So there I am one morning, checking my emails, and 1046 gets released. And in there, Jamf have their own lapse solution. So since 1046, Jamf have their own lapse solution built in. This solution is currently only manageable through the API and uses the APNS command set auto admin password. You will have to use the API to manage the lapse settings. By default, it is turned off. And these are the configurable options that are available at the moment. So, enable or disable lapse. Time to rotate the password after it's viewed. Automatic rotation of lapse if it's on or off. And auto-rotation time. So these are all in seconds. So on the examples here, it is rotating through, what was that? An hour after being viewed, and then the auto-rotation in seconds is 3 months. So to configure lapse, you have to do some API requests from terminal or scripts, or using something like Postman. In this example snippet, this will send a put request to Jamf to enable lapse. It will enable auto-rotation. It sets the password time to 10 minutes after it's been viewed. And then the auto-rotation is set to 1 month. And again, it's all in seconds, so that's why the times look ridiculous. There's also a nice audit trail. So when you view the passwords, Jamf keeps track of who's viewed it, when it's been viewed, and also you can see there it's got the expiration time as well, so you can see when it's going to be rotated next. There are some caveats to using this Jamf lapse solution at the moment. It currently only works on macOS 11 and later. It also only supports accounts created during a pre-stage enrollment. The ability to manage accounts during user enrollment was added in 1049, though, so they are slowly moving forward and progressing things and adding more features. So along with managing the pre-stage enrollment using the MDM commands, you can now also manage the management account with the Jamf binary. So be sure to keep an eye out on this for future releases, because, yeah, I'm sure Jamf are working on new things and adding new things, and possibly a GUI interface or some nice prompts. Which, speaking of which, I have my own little shameless plug. I have done my own configurator tools. So instead of sending API commands, you can run these tools. Top one is the configurator tool. So this one gives you the options that we've just seen, but in a nicer, readable format. So you just log in with your Jamf account, put your URL in, and you can set your Jamf settings. The one at the bottom is the password viewer. So again, instead of having to script it and call it through terminal and things like that, you have a nice user prompt where you put in your device names, your reasons, and you get your admin name and password. So yeah, these are up on my GitHub, so if you want to try them out, they are already kind of up there, and they are in kind of early release, so there might be some quirks, but yeah, I'm working on it. Thank you, thank you. So, anyway, getting back to my solution, there I am thinking again, what about my own solution? Can it be done? Can I do it? And can I really be bothered to do it? I mean, there's so many out there, why waste my time? And after some thought and some more Googling, I came up with some half-decent ideas and started to formulate a solution. Something else that kept coming up, I just wanted to keep it simple. I didn't want too many moving parts. I didn't want loads of config profiles, loads of different settings. I wanted it to be simple. So any kind of Jamf admin can set up some policies, put in their parameters, what they need, and get it going. I didn't want it to sort of fall over and people wouldn't know how to fix it. And so another thing that kept coming up, there was no kind of GUI prompts or anything for users to view passwords. And I've just shown my Jamf Labs one. But that was based on what I've made here. And so it got me thinking, back when I was doing first and second line support, we used to use a tool called Microsoft Labs. We used this for years. Oh, I was expecting a little bit of booing for Microsoft, but fine. So yeah, this was an AD plugin, and it had this nice little GUI Labs UI that you used to pop up, and you'd get your admin passwords. So again, you sat there, you typed in your computer name that's in AD, you got your password, and a password rotation. It tells you when it's going to expire, when it's going to change. And this is the kind of thing that I just couldn't find, and I just needed it to be there, because it was something that I was thinking can be assigned to like your help desk team. Maybe they don't have access to Jamf, but then they can still do these administration tasks. They can pull the passwords, they can give it to your end users, and they don't need Jamf access. They don't need to go in and look through device histories and inventories and things like that. They can just click on the self-service button, type in a computer name, give the password to the end user, and they can crack on with their day. And so this is what I come up with. So this is all using Swift Dialog, which I hope many of you have heard of and use, because Swift Dialog is amazing. So yeah, this is the prompt that I come up with. Again, it was kind of loosely based on the Microsoft Labs one. So first prompt, enter your computer name. And this isn't limited to the device you're on. So you could sit on one device. You can call the admin password from any device in your estate. So yeah, you don't have to run it on those devices. Nice little reason as to why you're viewing it. This is just for audit trail reasons, really. Just so in the logs, you've got a trail of why someone's looking at an admin password. And then there you go. It shows you the password on the next screen. So the prompt disappears in 10 seconds. It auto-copies the password. So you can paste it into your admin prompts, like if you're trying to work there and then, or you can send it to your end user securely. And yeah, that's the Labs GUI prompt on the end user. That's what they see. So the decoder app, what we've just seen, is what the engineer and user sees. But let's look under the hood a little bit. This section was originally under the bonnet, but I had to switch it for American reasons. So in the device inventory, you will see the encoded password string and the randomly generated key to uncode it, basically. So what you have is your encoded password. You've got your random secret to decode. But you might be thinking, this is plain text. I can just copy and paste it. Well, yes and no. So if you do copy and paste it, it's not going to work as a password. It is encoded, it needs to be decoded, and then shown as the password. And that's what the decoder app does. So even if you were to copy this, if you're smart enough, like maybe you could try and work it out. But yeah, it's not just a case of copy paste and steal the passwords. So yeah, that's what the decoder app does. It takes all this, it decodes it all, and it displays it to the end user. So at the core of the Labs solution, it is run from two scripts. Both are written fully in Bash. One script is used to create and cycle the Labs passwords, and the other one is to decode and display the Labs password. There we go. Yeah, so basically runs from three policies. You've got one policy that runs the main creating and cycling of the Labs passwords. You've got one policy for a monthly trigger or weekly trigger, or however frequently you want it to cycle those passwords. And then you've got the decoder app, which is a separate policy with the decoder script, which will obviously run your GUI for decoding. So if we go a little bit deeper into each policy, going. There we go. So it is run from the parameter values in the Jamf policy. So you just populate this with your details. So top Labs account name, that's what you want your admin accounts to be called. Your encoded API credentials. So this is something that is on my GitHub as well, so you can encode your API credentials rather than passing those in plain text as well. Your Jamf URL. Then we've got here password length. So by default, the passwords are all randomly generated, upper lowercase, numerical values, and then you can set it to require special characters as well and set the password length to whatever you wish. As I know, some security teams, they need special characters, or maybe they don't. It's completely down to those. And then you've got a Slack URL at the bottom. So this is for notifications. And again, it just adds a nice little audit trail to your labs. So again, here we go. The decoder app, again, is controlled by the script parameter values. So you've got your JSS URL, your encoded API credentials again. The time to trigger password cycle. So at the moment here, you can see it's set to 5 minutes. So this is the value for when the password is viewed after, in this example, 5 minutes. That password on that device will be rotated. You can set that to whatever you want. So maybe you want to give someone an hour of admin access, set this to an hour, and then in an hour, that password's useless. And they have to ring you up and get it sorted again. So again, we've got Slack URL for your notifications, and you'll see the one down the bottom, service desk URL. So on the Slack notifications, there is a challenge request button, which we'll see a little bit later. But basically, you can link that to your help desk, to your service, to your ticketing system, and just raise a challenge as to why this password has been viewed. So I guess we've seen all the back end. And now we might as well just jump into a couple of quick demos. What we'll do here, so this is just a setup of the Labs account during an enrollment. So yeah, let's enroll a fresh device. So we've got a plain device. There's an admin account already on there. So we will just run through a quick enrollment. In the magic of iMovie. So yeah, there's not really a lot to see, so we'll skip through this. And then that's basically it. There's nothing really special to see. So we'll jump back into the user accounts now. And you can see after the enrollment, there is now a new Labs account on there. You can hide this if you wish. It is a feature that's come into sort of new release that I'm working on. But at the moment, the Labs account will be able to be viewed in there. So we've got our new Labs account. We've got our device enrolled in Jamf. We've got self-service installed. So we can now push out our decoder app and have a look. So again, if we just open up system preference, we want to unlock system preference, but we're going to use our Labs account that's just been created, but we don't know the password. So if we jump into self-service, open up our decoder app, we put our device name in, we put in our nice audit reason, and there's our password. So again, this is automatically copied, so you can just paste it to wherever it's needed. And there we go. We've unlocked system preference. Now we can create an account. I mean, for this example, we're just creating an account because it's the easiest thing to do. But yeah, network preferences, installing applications, yeah. And there we go. So while we are setting up laps and requesting the laps password, let's just have a quick look at some of these Slack notifications that I mentioned. So you can see from the demo thread here, the password's already been requested, it's already been reset. So let's run it now, just to see these notifications pop through and the timeframes on them. Cool, so we've just seen a request come through. So that's my JNUC 23 demo request. And what we'll be able to see on this is a timestamp. If it's, there we go. So yeah, so this was requested at 13 minutes past 6. The time in our demo is set to a 5-minute cycle. So again, using some iMovie trickery, we will just skip forward 5 minutes, and we will see a reset request come through any moment now. There we go. And if we check that, we should see 6:18. So, bang on 5 minutes. That admin password has now been cycled. It's now useless, and you will have to request it again. So, the password request notifications on Slack, they display the device name. We've got the user who's viewing it, so you can see requested by, and then there is the reason as to why. There's the challenge request button as well. So this is the button that links to your help desk system, so you can raise tickets. And then we've got the reset and creation notifications. So this one here, the lapse password reset, we've got the device name, we've got the lapse account name that's been reset, and then you just get a nice little confirmation whether or not it has been successful or it has failed. Here we go. So as well as your Slack audit trail, that same audit trail is also kept in all the logs. So the policy logs, when they run in Jamf, they're kept in there. And there is also a nice local log as well. So the Jamf policy log is good because you'll see each individual policy and you can pick up your failures from there. But one thing that is not so good is if that policy fails or it hangs for any reason, you're not going to get that recon and that inventory update at the end. So that policy is going to sit in a pending state. The local device logs, however, will just log everything. So even before the Jamf policy has finished, those local logs are writing, they're building up, and you will see where it stops, where it's failed on that local log, whereas Jamf will just kind of hang there and wait for you to try and figure it out. And so, yeah, I guess to sum up the features then of my Lapse solution, this comes from many different aspects and ideas, but at the core of it all, I just wanted it to be simple, secure, and accessible. So again, going back to that point, I want kind of any Jamf admin to be able to look at the wiki on the GitHub page and be like, right, I can do this, 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 and this. And then in maybe half hour to an hour, they're up and running. They've got a test device enrolled in it and it's working. And they've got a nice little Lapse solution going. So the features in summary that my solution has. It's randomized passwords on all devices. Passwords encoded and never saved in plain text. A nice GUI interface for password retrievals. The ability to reset and cycle the passwords whenever you want. All configured by Jamf policies. So simple, everyone knows how to create and manage a Jamf policy. Nice logs, kept in Jamf and locally on all your devices. And then a nice audit trail through your Slack notifications. And I guess that is that. Pretty swift through that. Went a lot quicker than I thought. But yeah, I guess thank you so much for coming. I'm still blown away by how many people are actually here, so thank you very much. Cheers. So I will also just leave some links up on the screen. So you've got my GitHub. The QR code goes straight to the labs. Swift Dialog is also linked up there because, as I said, it's a pretty amazing tool. And yeah, any kind of GUI prompts that you are looking to do, use Swift Dialog.
Great. Thank you so much, Perry. There are quite a few questions. So if there are any that in particular you want them answered, please make sure to upvote them because we'll just be going in order. I do also want to recognize there are a few questions specifically on the Jamf Pro product side. Thank you, Matt, for kind of answering a few of those. But unfortunately, I'm not on the product team, so I have no insight into any of those roadmaps. So we won't really be able to answer those ones today. But for Perry, the first question, how do you manage laps with an admin account with a secure token? Is there any special workflows for that?
So if you're talking about an existing admin account on the device already and you want to take over that and make that your laps account, at the moment, it's hard to do just because the way that the keychain, the secure token, the volume ownership, and if that account is file vault enabled, it's just a bit difficult to do that at the moment. So the easiest way is to delete the existing account. So there's a few prescripts that I have as well that we've used for different customers, where we remove the local admin account that exists and then overwrite it with the lap solution. Pushing this out at enrollment for zero touch is kind of the best way that I've found that the secure token does get passed along. So that first account that logs in, it goes to the end user. The laps account has already been run. It's already waiting there. So it's already got the secure token before that end user encrypts the device. The problem is as well, you can file vault enable this laps account and use it for logging in and basically unlocking file vault. But then the password rotation does kind of fall over a little bit, and you do end up with kind of secure token and keychain problems. So at the moment, file vault enabling the laps account, I don't recommend. I've tested this with the Jamf laps as well, and it's the same problem. So yeah, using it to log in, I would do recovery key to unlock file vault, and then you can use your laps account to log in and do any admin functionality that you want.
So you actually kind of read the room very well, because the next question is, are there any issues with existing devices that are file vault enabled?
So yes, there are. And again, yeah, it's a problem with the Jamf lap solution as well, and with this one, yeah, it's a bit tricky at the moment.
All right. The next one is kind of Jamf product related, but if you have any experience to share about working with newly enrolled devices versus currently enrolled devices.
So my lap solution, where it runs from a policy, you can run it on existing devices, so they haven't got to be re-enrolled to get this, and it will work on
Yeah.
Thank you.
Applause is great.
So yeah, this basically will just push out as a policy. It will install the laps account on that device, whether it's newly enrolled, been enrolled for years. It works as a policy. So the same way you just install Google Chrome, you can just install this laps product. So yeah, the other caveat of the Jamf laps one, yeah, you have to re-enroll your device to get that pre-stage enabled account and the user enrolled account. But yeah, no, this works on old and new.
Great.
Cash App or Venmo?
Sorry?
He wants to throw money at you.
Oh.
All right. Next question is, do you have any plans for Microsoft Teams version of the logging and auditing?
Yes. So the Slack one only come around because we use that more in our environment. So that was the one that I focused on, and kind of on the community. I mean, the Mac admins has got a big Slack following as well. So it's kind of like Mac admins probably use Slack more than Teams. But yeah, the team stuff, I am working on it. And I mean, there's a whole list of features that I need to add and update. So I'm constantly updating it. It's kind of a sort of bi-weekly thing at the moment, just adding little tweaks here and there and new features. But yeah, Teams notifications are on the horizon.
Excellent. All right. So another kind of file vault related question. Does your solution include the option to update the file vault password?
No.
Okay.
No, it doesn't, unfortunately.
And then have you run into any issues if the password is rotated on the local machine, but it hasn't synced back to Jamf Pro? Have you run into issues there?
Yes, yeah. So that was the thing that happened quite frequently, where the policy might hang and fail, but it has changed the password locally, but then it doesn't upload it to Jamf. There are some failover kind of remediations in the script. So if it tries to use the encoded string in Jamf, but that is not the same as the local passwords, it obviously can't authenticate. So now there are some failover steps, basically. If it can't authenticate, it fails, it kills the attempt, and it just resets the whole local password. So it'll kill off the keychain items, it'll just update the password again and get you back up and running. So if it does fall out of sync, there might be a couple of fails, and then it will pick itself up and kind of get you back on track.
That's great. Next question. Everyone's keeping them coming. These are great. So the question is it possible to limit who can request or view passwords based on a smart group or a scoped group of devices?
Yes, yeah, you can. Yep. So you could scope the decoder app to, again, just like a help desk team. So maybe just 5 or 10 people have that. Or some customers, they have asked me to do some tweaks, and they actually give this out to their end users. So everyone's a standard user, but they go into self-service, they request the password, and then kind of their estate has access to it. And there's been other customers where they have limited this to just their dev users. So if some devs are trying to compile code or whatever, they need admin access, then yeah, they've scoped it to just 10 dev users who can get admin access.
Great. All right. What happens if your service desk does not use macOS?
Good question.
Just an easy question, right?
Yeah, it is something I have been trying to work on. So it's kind of halfway there. So it's just converting all of the bash code to PowerShell. I am working on a Windows client, but yeah, PowerShell and bash, yeah.
Iron Man.
All right. I also want to acknowledge there were, I think, 4 other questions about Microsoft Teams instead of Slack. So it's a popular topic.
Yeah.
All right. Next question is, will your slides be available anywhere after this?
Yes. I think all these sessions are recorded, but yeah, by all means, I can make this available. Yeah, I'll stick them up on the GitHub, or just email me and I'll send them. Yeah.
Great. This next one, you may or may not be able to answer. Can Labs for macOS be implemented or managed via Microsoft Intune?
Not at the moment, no. So because this runs on, so it basically relies on the script parameters within the Jamf policy. At the end of the day, you could you could hard code those values into the script and then push it out via Intune. So it can be done, but obviously Intune just doesn't give you that kind of just create a policy, fill in what you need, and then push it out. So yeah, you could just hard code the codes and the dollar variables into the script and then push it out via Intune. And yeah, it would function the same.
Great. So then the next question, will Labs need to be used with Apple Remote Desktop if you use it on the local admin account?
Sorry.
Sure. If that was your question, if you could add a comment maybe clarifying. what you mean there. And in,
My question, but I think I understand. When you use Apple Remote Desktop to connect to a machine and ask for administrator credentials, you would need to provide the lab's password for that, yes?
okay, so the question for
Yes.
everyone who couldn't hear
Yes.
was if
Okay.
you're using Apple Remote Desktop, which password do you use?
Yeah, so you'd have to use that local admin of the remote computer. Yeah.
Thank you for your help there.
Cheers.
All right, and then this may have been answered in the presentation, but we get a lot of details. Does the decoder app need to be run on the affected device, or can it be run on a separate Mac?
It can be run on any Mac. Yeah, so that can just be run on any Mac. You put in the name of the device that you want the password for, and then it retrieves it from Jamf.
The next question is about your GitHub account, which we've got the QR code and a URL here, so it's available. Hopefully you've seen it. And then the next question, is it possible to keep the password the same on devices but rotate it after a certain interval?
Yes. So you don't have to have the password rotated after a certain amount of time, like after it's viewed. It could just stay the same, and then you just use the other policy, the sort of monthly, weekly rotation one, to then just rotate it every month. So that admin password for that device is the same no matter how many times you look at it and view it and request it. But then at the end of the month, it then rotates. So that maybe you could have your whole estate just every month just rotates, and then you haven't got loads of different requests coming back and forth.
All right. We've got a few more minutes, so you can keep your questions coming. We do have still several more to go through, so there's some
Wow.
time for these. After the self-service policy is executed by an admin on a device, can the decoding of password based on LDAP group? I apologize, I might be.
Do they, possibly they mean, can you sort of scope it to an LDAP group?
Oh, sure.
But yeah, by all means, if you've got your Jamf linked to like a cloud connector for Azure, or you've got it to an on-prem or Google Workspace, then yeah, you can scope it to LDAP groups.
Great. If that was not your question, please add an additional comment. We can
Yeah,
come
if
back to it.
if that's not what you asked, then yeah.
All right. And then what do you do if the policies hang in Jamf? Any specific troubleshooting steps?
So best to check the local logs, really. That would be my first go-to. If you're just seeing sort of pending states and hanging, then yeah, check the local logs, see where it got to, where it failed. It could be one of the API calls is looping or can't connect to the internet for whatever reason. Maybe the API credentials are incorrect and it's just fallen over. Yeah, so check the local logs, see where it's stopped, basically, and then yeah, try and work your way back and reset those policies.
All right. The next one, can auth be required for the decoder app? So in case a user walks away and then without locking their machine, doesn't give access to everyone.
Yes, so you can set self-service to you need a login, and then you can also scope this to say like an LDAP group or something. So then to see this app in self-service, you have to log in. So they could open self-service, they could get the basic apps, but then to get security apps like this, then you have to click the login button at the bottom and log in with your Jamf account or your single sign-on account, however you do it. And then you get to see the sort of decoder app, so you can request passwords.
All right. Next question. How does your app handle incorrect device names? So if somebody's typing it and they make a mistake.
Yeah, so if it can't find the device in Jamf, it will just give you a failure message. So it'll just sort of fall over, say, can't find this device, doesn't exist, and then the decoder app will close. So if there are any failures like that, you just relaunch it and try again.
All right. Next question. Is there a mechanism that allows us to operate without internet access? For example, a user requests admin installs a text proxy tool and it malfunctions, and they no longer have access. They no longer have admin access and need to request it again.
So no is the simple answer. Because it is based on the API calls to Jamf, it does require internet access.
The next question is regarding using Windows again for accessing this, which we answered a little bit before. Then another question is, can the app use the local machine name instead of requiring it being typed in?
So yeah, again, I've sort of tweaked this and customized it for some customers where they just want to click the decoder app and it gives you that local admin password. So yeah, it's totally doable. You can sort of take out the steps to require to type in the computer name. So then it just uses the local host name and just fetches the password for your local device.
Okay. So can you limit the amount of times that an admin password is requested in a day?
Ooh, that's a good one. At the moment, no, but yeah, that's a good one. I'll add that to the list.
Can you call the lapse password and use it in a Jamf policy or call it as a script parameter?
Oh, just read that one again, sorry.
So I think they're wanting to use the password in a script, if there are built-in ways to do that.
Right. Without passing it in plain text, no. You can use the functionality from the decoder app to obviously decode it and then pass that uncoded password through. So that could work in a way, yeah. So yeah, it can be done, but at the moment it's not set to work that way.
All right, here's a good one. Approximately how many kilo lines of bash code did this project take?
Yeah, I can't remember the number. I mean, I think it got to sort of 400, 500, and then I lost count.
All right, we've got time for a few more questions here. So the next one, can the serial number be used instead of a computer name in this app?
Currently, no. It does require the host name, but again, if it's needed and requested, then yeah, by all means, it could pick up the serial number. Yeah, it's just at the moment the API call is based off of the host name, so that's why.
This is an interesting one. Do the logs show what the user actually used the admin access for, rather than just the stated purpose?
No, it doesn't. So, yeah, unfortunately, you'll have to use some other methods of, detective work to find out what they've actually been up to. Yeah, I mean, it kind of is a flaw of any kind of admin access. They can just go off and do what they want, and unless it's audited and kind of pinned down by other security tools, then yeah, there's not kind of a lot to know what they've done.
All right. There are a few more questions here, but I think we might be hitting our time. But if you have more questions, you now know what Perry looks like. You know what I look like too, but I won't be able to help answer those questions. But thank you, Perry. Maybe another round of applause.
No, thank you all. Thank you all so much. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.